welcome back to the Hearthstone Global Games. Next up, it's going to be France versus the Philippines. Now, this is a big match of contention, right? And I believe, actually, one of your picks actually just lost, so...
oh, thanks.
You're going to want...
Well, yours won't win either.
Wow, no, I didn't quite mean it in as petty way as that. But now you're going to want your pick to win, surely.
I would really like my pick to win. Yeah, that's why I picked them.
That is why you picked them. But France was almost your pick.
Right, it got down to the last pick of the draft, and it was France, Philippines, then there's Sweden, Czech Republic, Denmark left. And honestly, hand on heart, I think I have to say France the best of those 5 teams remaining.
Should we take a look at the players and see just why France are the better of the 2 teams?
Right, Svid, Kallax tied on points for the anchor. Svid won it on last year countback. Odemian, Windello. Absolutely insanely strong lineup from France. Philippines, Staz, Waning Moon, Chalk, Kara, Cute. I picked them last year. It's the same 4 players. I'm relying on the communication to be good. They say they're stronger than last year as we have a look at the glorious capital of France.
We were there a few weeks ago.
We were, yeah.
A month or 2 ago, yeah. France. Beautiful. Paris, amazing, love it. Oh, I just said the beautiful. Remember last year?
Don't say the B word live on stream. All these countries, of course, are beautiful. That is the problem when describing all these videos.
The Philippines...
Coming from the UK, anywhere looks beautiful.
That's true. That was exactly what we said a lot last year, too.
Yeah, we're going to say that again.
But look at the Philippines. I haven't been to the Philippines yet. It's a place I would love to visit again. Someone that we're going to be trying to communicate with throughout this tournament to give us some insight on Team Philippines, as well as the team themselves. No, not you. Is the other caster that loves the Philippines, of course, Gia. It's going to be great to get some of her insight through the tournament. I'm sure that she will be heavily invested. But talking to Chalk just a few minutes ago, he said to me he wants to prove Twitch chat wrong. Yesterday, if you missed it, the community show, we did a vote for you guys, Twitch chat, to see who you thought would win, France or the Philippines. France won the vote.
It's only because I can't spell Philippines.
And Lorinda is certain that's because none of you
only reason.
Spell Philippines. Let's take a look at the picks and bans for this coming match.
Right, so this has been pretty interesting. The Philippines brought almost all aggressive decks, which means that their bans had a lot more weight than the French bans, because they had a way to manipulate the French lineup to just get rid of the heavy control decks, whereas France are just banning an aggro deck each time they ban something. So the Philippines managed to weight it in their favour to make more impact in this phase. Whether that works out in the long run or not, who knows? But what's left with now is France don't have those decks that destroy aggro, and the Philippines still have some aggressive options.
I was kind of surprised at first when I saw Warrior banned on both sides, but when you consider that France's Warrior was dead at man's hand, yeah, I can see why an aggro deck would have banned that. Odemian messaged me today after we found out what the deck list was, and I said, hey, you've got a very interesting Warrior in your lineup. Tell me a bit about that. And he said, our lineup is text to beat aggro. We're against a very aggressive lineup.
Right.
GG, basically.
Interesting. So if they think they've got that many ways of dealing with aggro, then of course it swings back the other way. Odemian, of course, well known for his Dead Man's Warrior. Some great performances with that already this year.
He said he put a lot of time into it. His team trusted him to bring it, and I guess it's done its job. It ate up the first ban.
He's borderline a specialist at it at this point.
Let's take a look at the pick order. So let's see what the matchups are going to be. Starting off with Odd Rogue versus Token Druid.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole way down, it's going to be this aggro stuff versus not, except for the Priest of Waning Moon. Going to be interesting how this goes. Something I want to point out is Kallax last night qualified for the German tour stop, along with 3 other French players, Yogg, and I'll go through those later before I mess it up, Trekker and Disdimon.
It is a lot of French.
But what I want to make the point is that was a very long tournament last night. Now, it's been some quite long games today, so he's had some time to rest up. But they are draining those tournaments. So we might see Kallax not doing much other than letting his teammates help him today, because he's probably brain dead by now.
Oh, he might prove us all wrong, as a lot of these Hearthstone Pro players, especially I think the French community, they grind and they grind and they grind and they get the points and they play some more Hearthstone. They don't get any worse at it. So, like, counterpoint, they're used to playing for long periods of time. Ah, they're all together again, Philippines. It's one of my favourite things about the team.
Yeah, this is the scenes we remember from last year. One of the reasons I wanted to pick them again, the team spirit of the Philippines being so huge. They all do get together and play together. No one gets the blame. There was a big mess up by one of the players last year, and the player took full responsibility, and the next week came out and just owned everybody.
Yep.
Windello, famously known for being the best Monster Smash player in the entire world.
Really?
The reaction game at
Right.
Twitch parties, basically. He just
Right.
destroys everybody at it. He must be the best player in the world at this point, but also incredibly good at Hearthstone, and a super nice guy, because he mailed me a lot of information about decks going into this. So cheers for that.
That is really good news.
That's why I picked the Philippines. Sorry, mate.
So
Bad about that now.
You know all about the specific tech choices, then even better. It's funny going into this, though, because Chalk still felt confident even after the picks and bans had happened for them. And looking at the way the matchups have come out, yes, France are the favourite, but it's not by a landslide. Like, if the numbers I've got down are right, then it should be pretty much 3-2, and it's close numbers here.
Yeah, I did something a little bit different to normal this time. I normally do what you did. Numbers everywhere, blah, blah, blah. I just eyeballed the lineups and thought, I think the aggro just takes this.
Really?
That's just an eyeball.
Okay.
Like, again, I haven't done the maths, so... But in terms of favourite, I just feel that the
Hang on a second.
the aggro decks have a couple of really easy matchups here.
The first time you don't do the maths, it happens to be that the unfavoured matchups are the favourites, and they just so happen to be your team.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, funny that.
So, anyway, into the first one, we have this Druid deck, this token Druid deck. Now, I'm calling this aggro. It's because it plays in an aggressive way to set up its combo. It's not actually trying to kill you on turn 3 or something. But it's very hard for the rogue to deal with the multiple boards, especially if it doesn't get Fan of Knives. But even then, Fan of Knives doesn't deal with the recovery options, the Soul of the Forest. And so they have to be fairly aggressive here with their rogue.
The problem is, for a matchup like the Odd Rogue, the Token Druid's pretty good at having an okay start, keeping them at bay, but then you get into the late game where there's a board full of Wisps, there's a Death Rattle on all of the Wisps, and the Rogue just can't deal with that.
Exactly, yeah. So they've got to somehow go on the aggressive, but what this deck does very well, this Druid deck, is just not die. It's surprising for... Again, we call it Token Druid so people think it's aggressive, because all other iterations of Token Druid have been. Actually, it's more of a control deck with a silly combo, just like the rest of Hearthstone right now.
I'm looking at... I've forgotten already which member of the team is playing right now, and I'm looking at the image thinking that's going to help me, but it's just not.
It's just all of the Philippines versus all of Windello.
Chalk. Okay. It means we can talk about Chalk. Chalk, formerly a member of Fade to Karma. I was teammates with Chalk at some point.
Yeah, I think he used to write a lot of articles as well for Fade to Karma. Came up with several decks. Last year didn't play so much, but I think he's played a little bit more now. Obviously, he is the player who christened me APAC Dad, for which I'm eternally grateful, as I did almost all of my early Hearthstone casting for the APAC region.
Yeah.
And so that's why I ended up picking the Philippines again, because I feel natural affinity to them. You asked me if I lived there. No, I don't live there. It looks lovely, though. I wish I did.
G is the one that lives there. But yeah, I mean, I've met all 4 of these guys as well. They've been at various tour stops around Asia. And they're just a great group of people to be around, honestly. Staz, of course, actually came 2nd place, HCC Taipei.
Right, and again here, I mean, this is on the back of winning WSG the year before, and he sort of took a break. Turns out that winning $150,000 will do that to a person. Made some investments, sort of tidied his life up, and then last year just got back into it in the last few months, and instantly makes 2nd place in the Taiwan tour stop.
$150,000 would definitely tidy a lot of people's lives.
Exactly. Right.
Let's see.
But this isn't the best opening hand we see from the Philippines here. Yeah, they've managed to wild growth the Nourish, but the problem is they've got to keep the rogue board at bay for the first couple of turns. There's a Spellstone, but it's not been upgraded yet. It's not horrible, it's just not fantastic at holding Windello back.
Let's see.
Yeah, very difficult to know exactly what to do here. I mean, you can start burning your Spellstones, but you can just wait and swipe some stuff. It all depends what you think is going to happen on turn 3. We can see if they wait, they're going to be in a good spot, because France don't really have a good turn 3 play. I mean, they do. They have Coin, Deadly Poison, Edwin, which is actually really good. But, you know, I take it back. Trying to get something on the board here, Windello, that's out of range of all that stuff.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a turn 3 Edwin, isn't it? Like Coin, Deadly Poison, Edwin, or Deckhand or something.
Right, so the Deckhand, if you play the 6/6 Edwin, doesn't actually look that weak to swipe anymore. So it might not be a bad time to sneak the Deckhand down. And while your opponents are busy trying to deal with the fact there's a 6/6 Edwin there, your 1 health minion that should just die to most things maybe sneaks an extra 2 damage an extra turn.
Alternatively, we are talking about a deck that doesn't have any hard removal, so there's definitely some logic in holding back the Edwin and playing it as big as possible.
Yeah, I mean, on the other side of that, though, as a 6, I mean, you may well be right, but as a 6/6, if it hits face like twice, then that's suddenly 12 damage just gone straight in. So, anyway, he's going to have to come to a decision and work out how he wants to do it. And he is indeed going to go with this 6/6 Edwin and the 2/1 deckhand. This is going to mean that the deckhand, basically, if the Philippines take time to get rid of the deckhand, they're not going to be able to deal with the Edwin, and vice versa. The only thing that would work is if they have Swipe and Spellstone, and that is exactly the hand they have. Now, using that Swipe and Spellstone will mean that they don't get the Nourish in. Unfortunately for them, Nourish and Innovate wouldn't come close to enough mana either. But I think that they have to deal with the Edwin. The fact it deals with the deckhand as well is unfortunate for Windello. It makes a lot of sense how he played it, which is why I was talking about it being a strong play. But it can actually be dealt with. On the other side for the Philippines, they're worried very much about the fact that if they make that play, they are completely out of stuff to do for the reloaded board. Yet again, counterpoint to my own counterpoint. Counterpoint is that you've just seen France make a pretty aggressive play. They don't have to have even more stuff next turn. And that is indeed what they choose to do.
That is definitely the longest single period of time that I'm going to let you talk today, Lorinda.
Thank you very much. Windello, he had to have a backup plan for this. It did look like he was going to be able to create a board that would stick. But now, a bit of trouble for him. Obviously, double Deadly Poison over a period of time will be good, but you don't really want to play them both and then just go face with them. You want to use them with activators. You also want to generate a minion-based board for your Fungal Mancer next turn. And none of that. This is the downside of the play he just made, which was, mathematically based. Suddenly, he just has a lot to worry about and may just have to do it for efficiency reasons.
So many options.
It's one of those matchups where it's a race. It's damage versus card draw and mana ramp, right? Like, Windello needs to push as much as he possibly can. He wants to make these big boards now before the Philippines can make their own huge plays.
Something I've always enjoyed about the Philippines, yet again, just going back to why I picked them, I mean, look how much fun they're having, even though this is a bit of a mess of a hand they've got in front of them. They do enjoy it, and I think if you're enjoying yourself, you just play better.
I completely agree. It's one of the things I loved about Austria last year as well. They clearly enjoy each other's company. They enjoy playing Hearthstone together as friends, and that's what it's all about, really.
It's all about winning, Dan.
Sorry, my mistake.
You can be the Raven to my Sottle at this point. It's all about winning. It is more about winning this year. That's what's interesting about the Philippines team, because it's the exact same team as when it was about content creators.
Yeah.
The country were proud of them last year, just put them all back in again.
And there are other good players in the Philippines as well. Again,
plenty.
Switch, I said that Stars came second in HCT Taipei. Switch is also from the Philippines, and he came first in HCT Taipei. So clearly, the public in Philippines are very happy with this team.
Now, how
They're all able to get the points, and that's all that mattered, I guess.
Looks like they might be considering nourishing for cards here, just because they have nothing to do. They can still innovate out the hero power to remove the deckhand, to remove the downside of this Fungal Mancer.
I actually don't mind the Nourish. I probably get to summon an Arcane Tyrant that way as well. Gonna go with the play that doesn't require using the Innovate. I guess they want to play it. Maybe they want to use the Nourish now and then innovate out Ultimate Infestation as soon as possible. That could be a line of thinking there.
I mean, this delays the decision-making process without having a much worse board, but personally I'd like to draw some more options for next turn. You can't even play Whispering Woods if really in this situation if you don't have more cards in hand. But delaying the option does mean that they may not have to use a Nourish, like you say. If they did draw a UI, different things could happen.
Or like now, because of how small their hand is, they could Nourish now. If they draw Ultimate Infestation, they can innovate it out on 9 mana. So
they don't have a lot of time, and that might have been something crossing their mind. This 3/2, because the weapon is a 6/2, is actually really irritating, because you don't want to put 6 damage into it to kill it, but it challenges a Fungal Mancer. Yeah, the more I look at this, the more I really like this. It challenges the Fungal Mancer Diamole or it eats up 6 damage from the weapon.
And it's going to have to eat up the 6 damage from the weapon, because yeah, obviously the Scalebane's coming down.
Right.
And it's now a powerful board for Windello.
So just because of the exact numbers, even though the play was a lot more weird than you'd normally expect, maybe they can Whispering Woods.
Well, they could nourish, innovate Whispering Woods, right?
Sure. They can Whispering Woods, Soul of the Forest as well. They've actually got to think about this as well. But yeah, that last play was actually very interesting. How they managed to mitigate so much damage with a 3-2.
Now, how about...
The odd rogue isn't actually running a single copy of Fan of Knives, so I don't feel as though Soul of the Forest on Whispering Woods is even necessary. Just nourish first, summon a board full of 1/1s.
Okay.
Deal with that.
Sure. Seems reasonable. You're not going to trade your 4-1 into a 1-1.
Now,
And they are getting to the point where they could do with finding some method of taunting up or gaining armor. Not quite there yet, but there's 15 staring them down. I mean, they could just be dead to Leroy. So yeah, they probably need to nourish at this point to try and find taunt or armors, to be fair. Branching paths must be very, very tempting right now to just use, but yeah. Assuming they're out of Leroy range by 1. They are actually dead to Leroy top deck with that Cold Blood in hand, though. It's only a Blink Fox. We're good. At some point, though, they're probably going to have to take a risk. Branching Paths for 12 is a thing, but it just doesn't really occupy the board. I guess you could Whispering Woods and Branching Paths for 12.
Is there anything from this Blink Fox that would... Like, what does Claw do?
2.
Ooh, it deals 2 damage, so 8, 13, 17. No, it'd still be 1 off.
Mushroom power!
Either way, this is the safest, most powerful play. And we said at the start of this game, Rogue can struggle to get there, but
yeah,
Chalk is going to be shaking a little bit at the moment.
The lack of a taunt the whole game.
Or any way of removing this 11-7 that's on the board.
That's awkward.
Branching Paths for all of the armor that you like. It's not going to get rid of that thing.
No. And this has ended up pretty badly for game 1.
What if...
And what are you even looking for from the Nourish? Just glancing through the deck list, trying to work out where they can get more stuff.
Nourish, then Branching Paths for armor twice. Innovate Spellstone. No, it won't kill the Scalebane, and it's only 12 armor that they're gaining. So even getting rid of the 5/2 with the Spellstone won't be enough.
There is the spreading Plague You, but you can't because there's the other one as well.
No!
And looks like suicide onto the 11-7.
GG, France takes the first win in one of the unfavourable matchups, one of the only 2 unfavourable matchups, I believe. So Windello going to be very happy about that one indeed. So is the whole of Team France as they move forward into their second game of the series.
Before he started playing Hearthstone, he was just called Dello.
Why did he have the win?
Because that's all he does.
Okay, great. Moving on from that, so how do you think it actually affects the team when they all play together? Like, as well as the having a good time aspect, do you think it makes communication easier?
I think it does, because you can use hand signals as well. So in a situation where there's 4 of you in a Skype call or whatever, everyone talking at once can just be a nightmare. But if there's someone just going, it's not interfering with the guy who's in the way of being told to shut up, and you can all get it very, very quickly.
I guess saying, oh no, that play is terrible isn't quite as effective as going, oh no, that play is terrible.
That as well, but that would probably lead to some people being like pushed in a wall or something.
Should we take a look at the next match
that's
coming up today? It's going to be Kalax versus Waning Moon with the Shadowwalk Shaman versus the Control Priest.
Cool.
This is a tough matchup for the Priest.
You've played this a few times from both sides, or just from the Shadowwalk side?
I like Shadowwalk. We all know I like a Shadowwalk, much to my detriment, but it gets to its win condition typically a lot faster than the Priest does. Its whole deck is built around drawing and getting to that late game win condition. And yeah, the priest can stall a little bit. It can psychic scream, but at least in my experience, the Shuttlewalk gets there before the priest does usually. There's a lot of healing in the Shuttlewalk deck as well, so it's not like the priest can just deal little chunks of damage and then win with a couple Mind Blasts. It doesn't tend to ever work out.
Yeah, it's a race where one of you has got like so much of a head start. A lot of these matchups are race. We've talked about this quite a lot. These modern decks that don't die and then kill you often come down to race situations. I think Sottle used the phrase earlier that they're all like quests.
Yeah, I mean, you even said that before him. You referred to Jaina as like the mage quest, but
I was trying to make him feel good.
So you draw it. Well, I want to make you feel good, Lorinda, and you know who else wants to feel good? The whole of the Philippines, the country, not the team.
Right. Well, they seem like they're still enjoying it, not quite as much as they were when it was 0-0, but that's one of the other advantages of all being in the same room together. If you're all separated by distance, then you can't quite get the feeling of communication, the team spirit, the keeping each other buoyed up. If you're in the same room and someone's going, yeah, can't we still do this? It does spread. It is contagious.
That's true. I agree. And we saw them laughing throughout the entirety of that series so far. And hopefully the laughter will bring some wins with them as well. Do you ever laugh a lot? And does that give you wins?
Don't really laugh or win. Maybe that's why. I cry a lot and I lose a lot.
Does winning make you laugh?
I'll try it one day and let you know.
Okay. I look forward to hearing about it. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the Mind Blast Priest, or Priest in general, actually, because I expected to see more combo Priest coming into the tournament. By combo Priest, I'm talking about Divine Spirit in a Fire. Apparently, there's some confusion there. For my definitions, it's combo Priest, control Priest.
Right, because there's a combo in it. As opposed to hitting you with 2 Mind Blasts, which is 2 Mind Blast Priest.
Right, exactly. But because that deck became very, very popular sort of just before HCT Italy, and then it's quickly faded away just as fast.
Yeah, I think that the more controlling stuff is like the safer choice, and I feel a lot of countries have come with the safer choice this first week while they feel what's going on. Some of the nations, Southeast Asia did it, Spain and Austria did it, had like practice matches. So they'll have a tiny bit more feel, but I'm sure these guys behind the scenes have like played one-on-ones with the whole format, not even necessarily with other teams, but you know, you can imagine Zorkthon and Hunter Ace just smashing out a best of 9 with this format just to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the players have been doing practice games already. I know as a fact that a bunch of the Asian teams have been they've been doing some series that have been streamed.
Yeah, they streamed it on the Southeast Asia channel.
That's right. Gia's been casting a lot of that, and so they've been practicing themselves. Fujitora, I should have mentioned this earlier during the Turkey game, but Fujitora said to me, "We've had some scrims with some other teams. I can't tell you who, but we've won them."
Wow.
So unfortunately, that didn't then carry over into their game earlier. But it's good to see these teams. They're taking it very seriously. They're practicing.
I mean, there's a lot of national pride at stake, and $50,000. They're going to take it seriously for sure.
And you could definitely argue about which is more important in this tournament.
$50,000.
Okay.
National pride is extremely important. It is a way to launch your career. Sorry, Dan. Yeah, it is. Like you said, a lot of people last year, someone like Glazer on the back of this tournament, just by helping to carry Israel as far as they got. Glazer's now on F2K, having a really good career out of Hearthstone. It was a way to break onto the scene. So I was being slightly facetious there. Definitely the national pride is huge. The Czech Republic took a lot out of last year. Yeah,
I mean, just having this tournament where the whole country is behind you, supporting you. And hey, it's going to make a big difference for some countries. Look at Tom60229 getting a message from the president when he won the World Championship.
Message from the president.
You can just something like
That's
that.
That's impressive.
You can just imagine like the whole of Taiwan rooting for their team in this tournament.
How do you look more awake than me? You've just played 400 rounds of double elimination and won it.
He does.
Alex, that's not fair.
He does look very awake, doesn't he?
He does.
I also like the look of his setup. What microphone is that?
I don't know, but it's unfair. How do people do that?
Well, you have to be pretty awake to play Shuttlewalk Shaman effectively, so let's hope that he really is awake.
Spids was talking about why they're going to win, by the way. Basically said that they're just not scared of anybody. They've just got the powerful players. It was very about his own team, just we are very good, therefore we don't need to be scared, as opposed to other people are bad, which is maybe some of the other routes that people took. And I think he's got a point. And we've definitely wound them up on Twitter as well. We keep on about this with the picks, but honestly, I think France were the ones who were most put out on Twitter by not being selected, and they're going to prove us all wrong.
There's potentially a different reason that nobody is picking France.
Yeah, they've already won something this summer, right?
One that I'm not personally interested in, but everyone else seems to be. So.
It's only because we never win. If we won, you'd care. Okay, meanwhile, really good hand here for Waning Moon, except for the problem that he's drawn both Mind Blasts. So it's not that good, but he's got the early start of the Cleric and the shield.
Yeah, the issue is the amount of healing in the Shadowwalk deck is now going to affect Waning Moon in a pretty major way, because there is a cap to how much damage he can deal. He's going to want to draw Shadow Reaper Anduin as early as possible, but Shadowwalk Shaman don't tend to win the game too long after turn 10 themselves.
Yeah, it's the problem with drawing the double Mind Blast early means you can't get any extra ones out of your deck, so you are stuck on this amount of damage now. And I think they're seeing the funny side of it as well.
Kara Q certainly is. She's having a great time.
Yeah, Chalk's having a good laugh. Waning, they're just all having fun.
Yeah, there's a little smile from Waning Moon there. Someone just told a funny joke. It was Chalk.
One thing I'm finding interesting here watching Kallax, and I also noticed it with Hunter Ace, even though they're the driver, a lot of time not talking as he goes on a ramble. They're doing a lot of listening, the person in the driver's seat, because at the end of the day, they're the one who can override all the things that are given to them as suggestions anyway. So their input is less needed slightly, because if they see something's just completely stupid, they can pick up the mouse and just do it. And I noticed that's a couple of things we've seen from the stronger players as well.
Never go full Cleric. Not against a Healing Rain deck.
Not against a Healing Rain deck. I want to see it happen.
What can Waning Moon actually do this turn, though? He's got nothing.
He can play a Cleric, and he can't even heal his opponent's face and, like, by the Holy Light them, because it'll actually heal them. It's unfortunate. That did happen in the show match with the Dusky Boys, but other than that, it doesn't seem optimal.
Just Mind Blast his opponent? Like, he has nothing to do this turn. This is not good.
Yeah, they've seriously got to consider whether they want to play double North Shot and just risk the Healing Rain, or not bother. I think not bothering makes a lot of sense.
Oh, there's Healing Rain. Obviously, a lot needs to happen for that to actually go wrong. Like, Kallax would have to have a damaged minion on the board for the Healing Rain to start milling Waning Moon. It doesn't ever happen in the real world.
We don't live in the real world, Dan. That place is scary.
The real world has Dead Man's Hand Warriors and Big Spell Mages.
Yeah, I don't want to go there.
We definitely don't live in that world for this series.
So you can see Kallax there, very laid back, working out, look, what is our plan for the next few turns? We have various pieces of the combo, as always with a deck that plays like 5 combo pieces. You have some, you don't have others. Do you want to be mana efficient, or you're not in that much hurry? We saw at Viper in the Summer Championships, if you misjudge how much of a hurry you're in a Shadowwalk game, you can just lose the game. He went for it a little bit earlier than he needed to in one of those games.
Ademian was saying to me a few days ago, actually, that they'd studied the Philippines. Even before the tournament started, they'd studied the Philippines and had a pretty good idea of what they would bring. It does look like their strategies paid off, as they expected aggro, and the Philippines brought aggro.
Yeah, it is a good call.
However, he says that Staz and Waning Moon are very complete players.
Yeah, I mean, Kara is as well, in fairness. She was 9th, I believe, in one of the playoffs. Chalk in his day was, but I don't know how much Chalk still plays.
Right. But it looks like Udemy wanted to give specific
shout-outs to those two, yeah.
Respect to those two players, and so they don't really want to tunnel on their strategy because they might be surprised.
Because they're smart enough to next level, and maybe, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
All right, it's got to be draw time, right?
Yeah, but how many?
Waning Moon just cannot do anything else. He needs to start playing cards.
It's just the method of the draw and how many cards you want to draw at this point. And he's trying to keep some sort of... Because he can't play any cards, he can't really draw many cards because there's nothing to do to empty his hand. The Mind Blasts are just wasted because they get healed back up.
It's all right. On turn 6, he can play a 4/5.
Cool.
Realistically, he can coin out the Shadow Priest next
Beginner Yeti.
He can coin out the Shadow Priest next turn and take one of these Sour Knights. That's probably not a bad way to go. At least he's doing something and taking some action onto this board.
Yeah. It is progressing incredibly slowly here for the Philippines, though. Yeah, Kallax is low, man. We're doing fine. Well, French team being meticulous. This is a sign of the good teams. I think the teams that rope every turn may come across as boring to some. But when you realise the intricate detail they're going into, they are almost always the best teams.
I can't even imagine the detail that the French team are going through, actually. They are, you've said this so much throughout the series, I'm going to say it again. On paper, they are one of the best teams in the tournament.
I said it yesterday on the pre-show, I'm going to say it again now. It took more points to get nominated for the French top 9 than it did to qualify for playoffs for France.
That is insane.
It was absolutely ridiculous.
And there you go. As predicted, pointing out the Cabal Shadow Priest, Waning Moon has now drawn Shadow Reaper Anduin, so come turn 8, he will start to deal some serious damage. Obviously, after Anduin's been played on 10 mana, Double Mind Blast is 16. Not quite the 28 it used to be with the Raza and the Red.
No card draw for the Shaman at the moment. So, although we're saying he's got most of the pieces, if the Shadowwalk's the bottom part and the draw's just above it, maybe things don't go his way. And then maybe it does the fail that we always talk about, and Anduin blows it all up.
There aren't any elementals left in Kalax's deck either, so he can't even Zola the Sandbinder and play that again to draw more cards. He's drawn them all.
It's a bit unfortunate.
However, Grumble on 6, hitting a Saronite Chain Gang, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing the board controlled.
Well.
Sorry?
Look at the smirk from him when he played it as well. Big smile from Kalax when he played that Grumble down.
Yeah, this is the face of a man who has woken up having realised he's qualified for the top 16 of a tour.
So he woke up, started stressing out Hearthstone Global Games, doing all the team chats, and then he was like, ding, just at that moment. Oh yeah,
he's been around for...
German.
Yeah, exactly. He's been around for a long time as well, Kalax. I mean, I played him in Insomnia back when I used to play.
Oh, wow.
Like, long time ago.
Back in the 1980s?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't think he's that old, but maybe I imagined it. But he's improved steadily over that time. He was always a legend, top high legend finisher. But I think his tournament play has improved over the last 12 months significantly. Started getting decent results now as well.
Oh, not a bad draw now. Preparing for the next turn with the Twilight Acolyte and obviously trying to reduce the damage that Kalax can put out whilst also starting to steal a good chunk of his own. Kalax hasn't drawn Shadowwalk yet, so he's still lacking a win condition.
He is. Obviously his win condition is, as we keep saying, just win the race, but staying alive is a big part of that. And how the Philippines going to get damaged through either? What are they going to do about when they play their Anduin? That's another question. Like, they're going to have to judge whether they want to actually try and win the game, which seems like a thing that people want to do, or hope for, if it gets to the point where it goes too deep and they don't like they're going to get the damage done, maybe they go for failed Shadowwalk and then just Anduin it all away. But as these Samanites keep coming down, obviously the chance of a failed Shadowwalk gets more and more remote.
Soloing a Grumble is also just such a strong move. I mean, that's how you guarantee the Shadowwalk win condition once you draw it. If you've played Grumble, Zola'd it, and played Grumble again, there's no way that thing ever whiffs.
And that's what he's thinking. He can do that now, but the rest of his turn is then precisely Hex. I don't think he wants to eat another 7.
Or freeze the 7/4.
Okay, sure.
Like, that's an option as well.
Yeah, sure. That's better.
Storm. Okay.
That worked.
He is granting Waning Moon some more card draw with the Cleric, but it just doesn't seem to matter too much. Alexstrasza will do some serious work again. We're seeing Alexstrasza into Double Mind Blast Holy Fire as a potential play on turn 9 and 10. But
Healing Rain just scuppers it so hard.
Yeah, and we're not even on turn 9 or 10 yet.
That's why the Hex not being used last turn was such strong play, because he knows he needs that Hex for that situation. Otherwise, you get Alex on the board and the combo, suddenly you're taking a lot of damage, so you need a Healing Rain and Hex at the same time to like tidy all that up in one go.
We've not seen a Life Drinker from Kalax yet, so even if he draws the Shadowwalk,
sure,
he's still not got all of the tools that he needs to win the game. Then again, just... Ah, no! I was going to say, then again, playing a board full of Shadowwalks is sort of a win condition in itself. It won't be, because he's played Grumble and Zola and has a second Grumble in hand, so these Shadowwalks are never really going to stick to the board. They're
Sure.
going to be bounced constantly.
No mind control tech in this, by the way, for those wondering.
Oh, okay.
So Wayne Moonka goes wide as he wants. Only got to play around volcanoes and lightning storms.
He's not running Hammer either. Oh, he's running double Life Drinker, okay. And there's the
God.
first one.
That old tech from 5 or 6 days ago.
Double Life Drinker?
It just rotates around 2-1, 2-1, 2-1,
Right.
depending how.
Is double the in thing again at the
I
moment?
have no idea. I lose track of Life Drinker exact numbers. I just assume that if it's 1, it's like old. If it's 2, then it's old.
Yeah.
I'd play 3.
Because I know when we were in Italy, the current was 1 Life Drinker.
Right, but that's
Current.
old news now. That's a week ago.
Yeah.
Little time.
Since then, we've had a tour stop. We've had Hearthstone Global Games.
Already?
We've had some of it. Anyway, Serenite comes to town. Likes what it sees. Going to hang around for a bit. Didn't like the town last time. He went home pretty quick. Grumbling all the way.
Oh boy.
And now it's the turn that the Philippines are now going to have to commit to a decision. Maybe they can escape one more turn actually by just using Primordial Drake.
Hand size is a bit of a problem because they'd love to heal the Cleric, trade it in and trade Zola in, but then they're milling a card, so I do like the look of Primordial Drake actually. Trade the Cleric, trade the Zola, clear up the board and hit face with the Cleric. Yeah, it looks like that's where they're going.
Yeah, and it also generates quite a strong board, and in the world where Kallax doesn't have Volcano, which he does not, this could get quite scary.
The
Because if they could draw the Healing Rains out, then the Alex becomes scary.
Well, the issue is now, as soon as France draws Shadowwalk, they win the game.
I mean, sure, but there's 19 cards left. You have to... Philippines aren't playing as if Shadowwalk's in hand at this point. They're playing as if it never turns up. Otherwise, yeah, sure, this game is in the books already. So obviously they want to minimise the number of turns before they kill the opponents to minimise the Shadowwalk chances, but also they do have to play as if they're going to get a little bit lucky, otherwise they've lost.
Just seeing more laughter from Stars at the back there, it really warms the heart, doesn't it, Lorinda?
Yeah, I guess it does.
Do you have a heart?
I'll find out one day.
You can borrow Sot.
Oh yeah, hang on, I don't want
Never mind.
a dark one like that, thanks. So far it's just obviously going through the deck as quickly as they can, but they've been struggling for card draw all game. And although they've had a decent chunk of their early stuff that's been very helpful to them, they're now in a situation where they are starting to run out of options. I think they take this, but it's nowhere near as stable as maybe it could be.
Cards like Psychic Scream will slow Kallax down, though. Just shuffling 5 extra cards into the deck, potentially shifting Shadowwalk down 5 places.
It's very tempting.
But Philippines don't have a horrible board. Do they actually want to Psychic Scream this?
I wonder.
So many things to factor in here, like you're giving them more chance of getting more Life Drinkers, more
Yeah,
Saranites as well, but on the other side of it, like you say, you're burying the Shadowwalk.
Well, if they really wanted to push that strategy, they could actually play Cleric and then play Psychic
Is
Scream.
someone injured?
Yep.
I thought for a second, but
Yeah,
this
they're
is
not
the
doing
other
that,
way
yeah.
around. This is the let's play for the board, and let's actually just win the old-fashioned way by dealing damage to the face.
Win by killing you until you die from it.
Yes.
And this is a lot of health they're going to put on board.
That was a lot of drawing.
Yep. Constantly sort of keeping check they're not going to overdraw.
Yep, this is back up to 10 cards exactly. They can play a Mind Blast if they need to empty a card out of their hand. Or Divine Hymn.
Yeah, they don't
Ow.
need to draw any more cards. The Mind Blast might be more useful for killing somebody. I think that's fine.
Sure.
'Cause either this gets Volcanoed or it doesn't.
I guess saving it for Burst. Hello, Shadowwalk.
Kallax's face, he's like doing the Shadowwalk face.
That's the do I? Don't I? So let's see. Multiple Saronite chain gangs have been played. Zola's been played. Grumble has been played. Chances are good, but
But do they need to?
do they need to take this, in inverted commas, risk? Is it better?
It's a bit of a risk because they can just die.
Just do it. All right.
Well, is it?
Well, they've got like glacial shards.
How many shards? That's going to be important.
And well, look, Grumble's not activated yet, so they get to play a second Shadow Walk.
Sure.
More shards, which means more healing.
Yeah,
This is
that'll be
it.
fine.
The game is won. Next turn, 10 Shadow Walks will be played.
10 Shadow Walk. What do you do, Kallax, when you're playing Shadow Walk Shaman and are waiting for the animations?
He should have kept the glasses on.
If it's just staggered to the chair, like with the glasses on, to represent how much he played last night. But that looks quite cool, to be fair.
It's dodgy,
I think he's doing the voice line as he goes.
He only managed to freeze one of
Did you tell me this game was won, by the way?
I thought it was, but no, with the double Mind Blast and the Holy Fire, he only managed to freeze one of the Cabal Shadow Priests. 4 Glacial Shards went off, 1 minion got frozen. That's pretty unlucky, but big congratulations to Waning Moon, who just about managed to sneak that victory in. Wow.
I don't think I've ever heard you say this game is won in your entire career.
Yeah.
I just trusted you, Dan.
4 Glacial Shards, Neil. 4 Glacial Shards just went off. More than one of them should hit a minion. Come on, you're the stats man. Do the stats.
50-50. Either it does or it doesn't.
That just doesn't sound right to me.
Well, do your own stats. No, seriously, they're obviously very unlucky, but was the double Mind Blast with the Holy Fire getting it done at the end there. 1 game apiece, and that makes a massive difference to the match. Obviously, the difference between 2-0 and 1-all is massive, but that was one of the ones that didn't seem like it's going to go their way at all.
Shadowwalk, why do you do this to us? We give you so much love. I give you so much love, and in return, this is what I get. I get it when I play Shadowwalk. I get it when I watch Shadow.
Yeah, Shadow Walk Shaman, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty sure you'll all be happy to have seen that, no matter which country you're from.
Next up, it's going to be a Warlock mirror, but not quite a Warlock mirror, as we actually have even Warlock versus Zoo
Zoo-Lock. Deck, again, that hardly existed just a few days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now, in terms of exaggeration. It is the Healy version, which is most of them now.
Yep.
Tops out at Leroy with no Doomguard.
That's a conversation we were actually having this morning, all 4 of us casting this. We were wondering, like, does it really make sense to run Zoo without Doomguard? Doomguard is such a strong card. Can it actually be better than worse than Leroy Jenkins?
I mean, it was me that sort of wondered that myself. Like, it just makes no sense to me to have one of the best cards in the game. People were calling for this card to go to the Hall of Fame not too long ago, and suddenly they're not playing it. They're just playing Leroy instead. Which they're probably also calling to go to the Hall of Fame, but you know, it's a massive card, but obviously the meta just doesn't quite suit it. The meta's more suited to either kill people immediately or grind it down and don't die. There doesn't seem to be much in this range of mid-range fighting going on, so a 5/7 seems to have lost value.
Please don't put Leroy Jenkins and Doomguard in the Hall of Fame. We'll end up with Reckless Rocketeer in Zoo decks. And
All that dust.
That's not what any of us want.
I like dust.
But yeah, my perception of this matchup is that the Even Warlock is a big favourite. They've got so many ways of removing the little boards that the Zoo pieces together. Hellfire usually does the whole job. Defile often does the whole job as well. The only thing that can cause the Even Warlock a big problem is an early Prince Keleseth.
So not as often as people would think, really. But obviously, like you say, the extra buff is so huge in the Zoo deck that Keleseth boosts the win rate to like 76% or something insane when you get it in your opener. Yeah,
I mean the many minions in this Zoo deck that have 3 health. We're looking at like Happy Ghoul, Fungal Enchanter, etc. It's that Void Ripper, Life Drinker, Sound Chain Gang. The list goes on and on. All of these minions that have 3 health suddenly have 4 health and don't die to Hellfire. We will be seeing that matchup along with the rest of the series very soon. So we'll be right back. Oh, hi there.
My favourite moment from last year's HGG
was when Amnesiac wearing all-American clothing at the finals.
When New Zealand beat Australia.
When the Philippines beat Germany.
Well played! What's my favorite number?
30.
30.
30.
Pasta?
Yeah, definitely 30.
And the pizza.
My 30 favorite card?
That's too much.
You what, mate?
30 cards right now?
I have to play.
The global games are all about
National pride.
Team spirit.
Cheering for Germany.
great community of friends and family.
For your winners, Czech Republic.
This year, Czech Republic doesn't stand a chance against Sweden.
They don't even stand a chance.
Spain has a really good chance to beat them this time.
What makes the US such great Hearthstone players?
Playing smart.
French players love to play different decks.
What does Belgian Earthen players have in common?
Pride?
To the global games! Just to carry on that conversation we were having then,
Okay, yeah.
You back in the room?
Sorry, yeah.
The Even Warlock, big favourite unless there's an early Keleseth, buffing all of the many 3 health minions out of range of Hellfire and Defiles and things like that.
Sorry, I thought you were going to talk about Shadow Walks. I'm completely lost. Yes, that is the conversation we were having last time. You people were here. We were having a conversation about Shadow Walks as soon as we went on.
Sorry,
break.
yeah, all
I'm
the break.
so confused right now.
I was very passionately defending myself for claiming the game was over. The chances of those Glacial Shards freezing only 1 minion was so...
1 in a million.
So astronomically low. We're talking somewhere in the realms of 1 in 30-something, 50-something. Like, you know, we're talking there. So, I'm not very happy.
But yes, the Hellfire is in hand that you've been talking about as we bounce backwards and forwards between different conversations.
But the Keleseth
you are
is
privy
not.
to or not. But no Keleseth. Pretty tidy looking hand though. But just see how much of this he wants to keep. She wants to keep. It's Kara on the helm.
Kara cute on the helm again. Absolutely lovely person. Great Hearthstone player. Had the chance to meet her a few times at various tour stops, and she's been really just great to hang out with.
Yeah, she looks a laugh. They all look like a laugh. I keep saying it. France, on the other hand, this is Svids. This is the anchor. Again, he tied with Kalax for points in the anchor point-getting period. And it went back to tiebreakers for who had the most points in the whole of the year before. He won it by like 4 points.
Well, this is from Odemium about Swids. Swids is a top 5 world player by any account.
Sure.
Agree? Disagree?
5's a very small number, and
there's a lot.
Very good player.
There's a lot of top 5 world players.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think if I had to write my top 5 in the world, there'd be a list of 15 people on it, and Svids could be on that list.
If there were 15. But
yeah, but jamming it into 5 and being confident about it is tough.
You can squeeze 15
But
names
Odemian
into
is
a
also
top 5.
incredibly smart and understands. You know, we sort of turned our noses up last year at Zyres when he told us Hunter Ace was the best in the world and we needed to watch him because we didn't know him very well. And turns out that was right. So we should listen to these guys when they tell us who's good. Svids does accumulate a lot of points in a country. He's the best in a country that accumulates a lot of points.
Look at this start from Kara Q.
Yeah, Hellfire that. You got 2 mana.
Turn 1. This is... Wait, it's turn... Yeah, it's turn 1.
Yeah, Hellfire that. Defile that. Go on, I dare you.
Turn 1, summon a 2 2-1s and 2 3-3s. All right.
If it wasn't for the Defile, I think that France would be basically dead already. As it is, they've got a chance to set up various things.
Has Zoo ever had a start this strong before?
I mean, 0 mana 3/3s are pretty rare in Hearthstone.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was a time when people talked about playing Wisp.
But like they've had silverware golems as well, but I don't think turn 1 was ever able to be this.
Yeah, this is pretty silly.
So, France, what are you going to do about it?
This is actually quite complicated because they need to work out if they put down the Homunculus, do they think the Philippines will fall for it? Well, the answer is no, they won't, which is by keeping all your minions alive and just getting defiled.
Yeah.
Do you want to defile, or do you want to do this and set up defile for next turn? But this is really transparent.
Yeah, well, now both 2-1s trade into this, right?
But it's kind of the same as playing the defile, I guess, because it moves the exact same minions. Of course, the Philippines will just trade into it.
Same as the Homunculus, actually.
It's actually better because they've turned this into a defile.
Yep.
Having as many defiles as possible against Zoo is probably pretty good. Without casting the defile, this is going to have the same result, except the ghouls will be slightly bigger. But if you get to turn 4, that doesn't matter because Hellfire gets rid of them.
Yeah.
I think this plays superb.
If they get to turn 4, though, is the problem, because... well, I guess regardless, Fungal Enchanter is there in the hand to buff everything up.
I mean, you've just taken 4 attack off the board. You have to trade into this without actually playing the defile. It's really cheeky.
Leaves Kara keep with the initiative, but look, given how strong Swid's hand is, he's got 3 board clears there. It's not going to last that long.
No, and it's going to be all about whether the Philippines can get enough cards and enough stuff going on after the Hellfire. The thing that's going to happen most likely is they will walk into the second Hellfire on the old, you shouldn't have 2 of that thing. You shouldn't have 2 Hellfires, therefore we can't play around the second one because we will just lose by being too slow if we do. And at that point, either the whole hand will be wiped out, or they won't go into it and France will start dropping these Twilight Drakes.
Right.
And dominate that way. So it is looking pretty bleak right now for the Philippines in this game. That being said, these 3/3s are still on the board and they've delivered a lot of damage. It is only turn 2 for the Philippines. So.
True. But it's just the fact that Swids is going to come up with board clear and then another board clear and then another board clear if he needs it.
And their life tap is cheaper.
He can absolutely just afford to life tap and dump the Homunculus here. I don't see any issue with that. It's a shame it's not buffing a Spellstone at the same time. But still, it's putting a stop to all of this damage. Void Ripper could push 3 damage this turn by allowing just one of these Happy Ghouls to trade into.
So what's the alternative if you don't Void Ripper? You could play the Fungal Enchanter after going bump bump. That looks decent.
Still very weak to Hellfire though.
Everything's weak to Hellfire, so playing the smallest number of things out of your hand seems good.
If you want to play on Hellfire completely, maybe the answer is Voidwalker tap.
I don't think you can play around it that much.
Okay.
Maybe you can, but then you go bump, bump. At some point, you've got to push the damage as well. You've got to assume there's not 2 Hellfires. You can assume that there was a Defile, I think. So maybe you can play around Defile and 1 Hellfire, just from the Tainted Zealot play earlier on. This is really tough turn. And so, as I say quite often, if it's a really tough turn, go with a natural-looking play, which is this one. If you get to the rope and you still haven't improved on it or worked something nice out.
It's sort of the not playing around anything. This is just baseline the strongest play that you
This is the play they saw in 2 seconds. They spent 70 seconds trying to work out what was better, found nothing, and went with the baseline play.
The other big bad news for Philippines is that France now have 15 health. What card did they just draw, Lorinda?
Alex Straza.
Nope, Hooked Reaver.
Oh, that sounds really good on 15 health.
Does sound pretty good on 15 health.
4 mana.
Where are you seeing Alex Strazas?
I don't know. I see Alex Strazas everywhere.
You might want to talk to someone about that.
So, do you play the 7/7 or do you not even bother?
Well, first, Philippines have to work out if they want to do something. And again, the natural, I guess, base play is just dump Sound Knight Chain Gang onto the board.
Yeah, it's a little bit more interesting because you do have the Librarian to draw another card and put something on the board. If you felt that all of their AoE had gone, I think it would be a tempting play. But Chain Gang is the initial scan turn. Just none of this looks good enough. But if you don't know your opponent's going to wipe out your board for the second time, maybe it is good enough. Fungal Mancer seems good.
I mean, this works out pretty well. France may not feel the pressure to remove this, and it might give Philippines an opening to play this Fungal Mancer. However, it's only just about going to deal with this Hooked Reaver.
But it does deal with it, and they had no other way of dealing with it, and that's why that's important.
True.
I mean, obviously Chain Gang did the same thing, but this may just delay Svidz's attempts to play the Hooked Reaver. Might go for the Twilight Drake, something with a bit more beef on the health.
Now, Twilight Drake is quite weak to Void Ripper.
Sure, yeah, that's fair. So this is going to get chewed through by the Fungal Mancer most likely.
Does mean that Philippines end this turn with only a 2/2 on the board.
Yeah.
And then France can go ahead and play their Twilight Drake, and the 2/2 isn't dealing with it.
It's not, but it deals with the face quite well when they're down to 13. Not this turn, but the turn after where they start to spam the board.
That's fair. They've got Soulfires, they've got Leroy in the deck, so Swids has to be thinking about that.
Yeah, on the other side, I mean, Svids doesn't have any more taunt minions. He has all of this removal stacked up, but Hellfire might get a bit sort of tetchy later on as well. Or sketchy as well. Tetchy Hellfire sounds like a Hellfire that sometimes does 3. It's called Lightning Storm.
The tetchy, sketchy Hellfire.
Yeah, that is just called Lightning Storm. Right, so no other sensible course of action. Sometimes the only play is the only play. And France, the ones with the decisions here.
Yes, so let's think about this. If they just dropped Twilight Drake, did nothing else, that's 2 damage on board, down to 11. Leroy Soulfire would be 1-off lethal, so I think they could get away with it, I don't think they play around more than Leroy Soulfire.
Yeah, there's a level of where also you've got to work out if we don't do something, eventually the Leroy Soulfire gets us anyway. So taking this time to just dump a giant mountainous thing on the board.
The problem is, what can they do about it? Like, what can they actually do about this 2/2? They can Hellfire it if they want to, but that's pretty horrible as well.
Yeah. But it was a case of which minion they were going to drop, more to the point. So interesting to see how wide they go here. Obviously, they'll be fairly alert to that Defile, I'm pretty sure. So I don't think we'll see the Voodoo Doctor played. But I feel they won't play around the second Hellfire, so they'll go pretty wide.
Okay. Keleseth has to be worth considering putting down there. It's better late than never, actually, because now Leroy is going to have 7 attack. Leroy Soulfire plus this 2 damage would now be lethal.
And then I'd guess Voidwalker Flame Imp is the play they'll be looking at.
Yeah.
Plays around Defile. If you've got Hellfire, good luck to you.
Oh, it's really nice, actually, because Hellfire then puts France down to 8, and they've got no way of taunting or defending themselves at them.
Right, and that's something that's been coming for a little while. Oh, there's double Defile now if they want. Not necessarily now, but they can use it for other turns as well.
It's pretty good now, isn't it? Maybe.
It's all about that Hellfire. Do they feel that they can afford to Hellfire? Do they feel they can afford not to Hellfire?
I think double Defile is better here because there's a big difference between 11 health and 8 health.
Sure, I think that's fair.
As we've established, Leroy plus... Well, actually, this Soulfire would now be lethal, but... double Soulfire, for example, would be lethal at 8.
Also setting up their own lethal next turn.
2 taunts. Sour Knight plus Tar Creeper would end up giving Swids lethal because the Ooze would go into the Tar Creeper, then Hellfire would go off, then Mountain Giant would hit in the face. Looks like that's what's happening. So after all of that, very, very close from Karakute on the Zoolock, almost getting there, beating the odds.
But it shows how hard it was to beat the odds when they go turn 1, 10 attack, and do not win.
France take it, the second win of the series, 1 game away from taking their first round of the Swiss against the Philippines. That'd be a pretty big win to start off the series.
Yeah, Philippines and Norway, both my picks. I'm going home. Can I have 2 more picks?
No.
I want to pick France and Sweden.
No.
Okay. I thought you said yes.
I just said no twice. You want me to say it again? No. No, you cannot change your picks unless someone wanted to swap with you. But I don't see why anyone
would ever swap with me. That would be ridiculous.
Swap when you have a Philippines, as we're being reminded.
Thanks, production. Appreciate that.
Philippines, the currently losing team, are Lorinda's pick.
I'm so sorry for those 2 nations. I love you all. I didn't mean it. Not over yet, 2-1, and with Paladin against Rogue to come, I believe. Sorry, Paladin against Priest to come.
Yep, and this is going to be, if my notes are correct, this is going to be the standard. It's the Mind Blast Priest versus Odd Paladin, which should be a very good matchup for the Priest.
Yeah, it is a really hard matchup for the Paladin to do much about it. If the Priest does whiff on that early removal, of which there is plenty, the Paladin just ends the game super quickly. You don't worry about Psychic Scream. You either kill them by turn 6 or they start blowing your stuff up, and does look really good here for France going into this game.
Yeah, I mean the big thing about the Priest is Pyromancers, right? Like Pyromancer Powered Shield, boom, that's a board of 1/1's gone.
I mean, if that happens, you just don't get back. It's like facing a Dreadlord. You just don't get back into it as a Paladin.
Divine Hymn, boom, another one. The board of 1/1's gone. Mind Blast, boom, another board of 1/1's gone. I could do this all day. Psychic Scream, boom, a board of 1/1's shuffled into the deck. And a Pyromancer. God, never mind, let's forget I went with that one.
Anyway, back to the show.
Odemian wanted to play Warrior. He said to me he hopes to see Warrior as the MVP of the lineup. And sadly, his Warrior got banned.
Yeah, he just loves that deck. He's done it very well with it for a good long time now. I don't know what his lineup was when he won in Toronto, but he won that. And he's just finally getting a breakout year that he's deserved for some time, I think. Beat Hunter Ace in that final.
Yeah, he did. He's one of the few people that have beaten Hunter Ace in a final.
And lived to tell the tales. Like, Sinslow beat Hunter Ace and tweeted about it. Hey, I just beat Hunter Ace 3-0, and then he just got 3-0 to the next round. And the guy who beat Sinslow was like, does that mean I'm the best player in the world now?
What's really amazing about Team France as well, actually, is obviously Odemian winning Toronto, Calax top 4 Toronto. Yep. Team France doing some work.
Yeah, they seem to... I still feel they haven't won as many tournaments as you think they should have. Like, they have this fantastic points machine for a country in terms of grinding, and then you look through their tournament wins, and they're decent. Don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing the French scene here at all. France have an incredible Hearthstone scene, but when you look at the number of really powerful players compared to how many things they've won, that Toronto tournament helped a lot to redress the balance. Maverick winning Tour. You know what I mean. Also helped redress the balance. I have to do that every time. But they still don't seem to quite hammer out the results when it comes to it somehow.
It's weird.
Nor does anyone, because Hunter Ace just wins, but yeah.
When you look at Team France's HC points, you think, wow, that's a lot of points, a lot of good players in France. But like, when you actually think, when you take that to one side and just think, good countries in Hearthstone. Like one of the first teams that jumps to mind is Germany, right? Germany have so many good Hearthstone players and have historically been one of the most popular, most famous regions for Hearthstone. But like really, France kind of earned the same respect, just a little bit more under the radar.
Yeah, I think some of that comes around from we watch English language streams, and the French community has a fantastic stream of their own that covers a lot of the major events, like the Armour Team stream. So we don't get to interact so much with the French audience because they have their own place to be. Like their own, everywhere has their own place to be a lot of the time, but particularly the French one really do go into that Armour Team stream. So we don't have them constantly telling us how good they are.
Right. When I think aside from Camelon, the majority of the big German players actually do stream English.
Exactly. So I think that makes a difference as well for us, and we should be more mindful of that. Damian has one of the highest win percentages. I can't remember the exact number. It's mid-70s in tour stops this season as well. In this year, in 2018.
How do you win that many games?
How do you win any games?
Against the best Hearthstone players in the world.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I say, he's beaten Hunter Ace in the final. There's 2 people ever done that.
That's not cheap. He should get like a special badge for that.
Be quiet.
Beat Hunt.
That was the other one.
Oh. Okay. But here we go. Baku, not what Stars is going to want in his opening hand. Duskbreaker, definitely what Ademian's going to want in his opening hand, though.
Yeah, I think you keep them all here, honestly, and just try to get Divine Shield.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's that bad of a matchup that that's the sort of thing you can try and do here. That may well be the discussion because they're all looking a little bit frowny face. I can sort of picture Staz now saying, well, do we just keep them all, try and get Divine Shield? And
I got so
Wayne
confused
saying,
then. I thought you were saying, I think you keep them all.
No, it's the Maul.
Okay.
My accent's bad enough without you highlighting it.
I'm looking at Baku thinking, something not quite right here.
Yeah, you keep the unidentified Maul that gains a bonus effect in your hand.
Thank you. Thank you for clearing that.
Keeping the Blessing of Might, of course, to get some damage in early.
Gonna need to do that.
None will survive.
No, none of these 1/1s are going to survive. That's for certain.
They might. No, they're not going to.
Psychic Scream. No, they survive. They just leap back into the deck in terror.
The Maul didn't do. What you got to accuse me going shopping or something. You know?
What did they all not do?
They don't get Divine Shield, which is really unfortunate for Staz and the gang.
I wonder how Staz is going to play this, because he could just play Blessing of Might, Asher's Veteran next turn, and just smack Odemium for 1,000,000 damage.
Yeah, that looks like a lot of damage that might get through twice. I think that's probably the way to try and win this game. And if they've got the Divine Shield, they probably just win the game.
The problem is, it means he's not pressing the hero power button. But then against Priest, does that matter so much?
I mean, you want to be pressing that button, but if you can get more damage through before the Duskbreaker can be played and you can do it twice, then I think you do it twice. I wouldn't be at all surprised to either see your play here, or at least the double Blessing of Might. Maybe you don't use the coin, maybe you do.
If he does use the coin, we're talking 9 damage this turn, then another, what, 11 damage next turn?
And then maybe you can find a chip to do it with.
And then, yeah, okay, counterpoint, he's got the Maul that buffs the whole board by 1 attack. So you could definitely make the argument that the better play is smack the hero power button, coin out Atura's Veteran, then next turn buff everything.
I think normally that is correct against control decks, but this just feels like a chance that, first of all, even if they have the Duskbreaker, you still get a load of damage through. If they don't have it, you win the game.
He's going with the Blessing.
He's splitting the difference, then he's going to coin out dudes, so this just makes more sense than what we were suggesting.
That's the very similar play, isn't it? Like, as opposed to the Atura's Veteran, he's gone with the Blessing, that's fine.
But that's because the Maul will actually now give +4 next turn, the way he's played it.
They're all going to give him +4.
No, he gets +4 total.
From the Maul. That's my bad.
Help me. What have I done to this poor man? He used to be so nice.
But yeah, +4 from the Maul's effect. +2 from obviously the attack of the Maul, and then the... I keep hearing myself saying
yeah, you've ruined me for the rest of this cast now, and it's your fault.
It's not just you, it's me as well.
That's what they always say to me. So, Demian, difficult decision to make here, because the Twilight Acolyte does buy him a little bit of health, but he knows full well this Duskbreaker is just going to blow things up next turn. Also gives away the fact there's a dragon in his hand, which we know because it's a priest with dragons in it, but confirms things to the Philippines.
Quickly. If Philippines win this game, they're in a great position to win the entire series, you know.
Right. What's the final game?
The final game is Egg Hunter versus Even Shaman, and I believe the Even Shaman's a big favourite there.
Sounds right to me.
Oh, now Void Ripper might be tempting as well, actually.
I've got to admit, when I said I eyeballed this and thought that the Philippines were favoured, I did see this priest as a rogue. I read that as a 4, just pointed down there.
Wait, I can't even see. Oh, and that's a 1? Oh, I see.
So that's my defence.
Okay.
But only Dan in the whole world knows what I mean. Well, down to 12 before the Dusk Boy comes to play.
And still no Pyromancer present. So, okay, the board gets cleared once. Maybe that's enough, though.
Maybe. Paladin does refresh pretty quick. But it's going to need to. I mean, that is pretty much stable now.
Oh, there's the Pyromancer.
Right.
And there's a shield and a Mind Blast in hand. I was just about to say, what Stas needs is a 1-drop. He got the Righteous Protector. It's now looking like it's not good enough, as France has a 2 damage board clear. And when I say 2 damage, I mean 1 damage and then another 1 damage, so it will even pop the Divine Shield.
Yeah, looking tough for the Philippines from here. And France, so far, looked completely in command of this match.
Yeah.
Like you say, if they've researched and decided they're going to have to worry about aggro, well, they got that dead right because the Philippines lineup was just aggro across the board, to all intents and purposes. They did have Jaina Mage, but that was about it.
I mean, Demian's looking to see if there are any other options, but I'm struggling to even imagine how there could be something better than Pyromancer, Shield, Mind Blast.
But he's Odemian, which is why he can imagine how there could be something better than it.
He's Odemian. That's true. He is Odemian.
This is what separates the good players from the great ones. They do find imaginative ways sometimes. Then you see this and you think, what was he thinking about? But then one time in 10 or something, you'll see him play a different play and be like, oh, why didn't I see that? And the answer will be probably because you blast your turn out in 3 seconds or something.
He's actually, okay, he's not going to play the Mind Blast. He's just going to trade the Dustbreaker instead. This is just better.
But there you go. That extra bit of thought, just making sure you tidy up the edges. This is obviously correct.
Also drawn the Wild Pyromancer as well now, the second one. Philippines is never getting back onto this board, unfortunately. And although they've still got some time, there are just no cards in their deck that get past these Pyromancers.
They have Leroy, Blessing of Might, and Weapons.
Okay.
In no particular order.
Yeah, and just Leroy, Blessing of Might, Abusive Sergeant that we see in the hand would actually be enough.
So there you go.
So they're 1 mana short if they draw the Leroy now, but
they need it quickly, right? Because France are just going to start to heal out of sight.
Yeah.
It's a big deal when Priest gets control of a game, he just gets out of range quickly.
Yeah.
And Damien is not messing around, he is just saving 2 mana probably every turn from now until the end of the game.
Now, if Leroy is drawn, firstly, he cannot play it with both of the buffs, and secondly, it would only be 10 damage, not 12.
I think you just lump this Divine Favour straight away, draw 4 cards, see what you get.
Lump it all. Oh yeah, I guess he could play the Abusive Sergeant first if he wanted to get that extra card, but gonna want to...
I think people value that extra card a little bit too highly a lot of the time. A lot of the people I play against would just dump the Abusive there, but then you've got 1 less mana to play a card that might actually do something to the game.
True. The Stonehill Defender, for example, would not have been playable if the Abusive Sergeant was played before.
And when you only have 6 mana, like, you're not going to be able to do a huge amount with the cards you draw. You've just got to hope you draw the right cards. I know the counterpoint to that is if you dump the Abusive onto the board, you can draw more cards. But, I mean, look how this mana's saving now. You get a Stonehill that might lead to a Tarim that might help them in some way.
Yeah, there's the Tarim. Maybe there's now an out for Stars. He needs a little bit more mana he could do with the Lost in the Jungle, but he's also got Vine Cleaver, which can start to smack the face with chunks of damage. Primordial Drake will get in the way, but maybe Philippines can find a way here.
And that happened because they didn't play the Abusive. So now they have the 3 mana with which to play the Stonehill. But France are going to be able to start to finish this off pretty rapidly. He's trying to count the worst case, I think. Like, what is the absolute nuts for our opponents here? Just making sure that if he can partition that 2 mana away every turn, that he gets to do it. It's like the anti-hunter. Weave in the hero powers. Caster's favourite phrase that means pretty little.
Weave! Weave!
Here we go. Divine Hymn. Not even bothering to weave now. Feels 18 plenty. Begins the beatdown, putting the clock on as well.
Still no lost in the jungle for Staz, so he can't summon a board full of 3/3s. But the best he's got is Firefly Tauren, but that's buffing the Dustbreaker. It's healing up the Pyromancer a little bit. It's not actually doing that much to help him, I guess.
I think you probably have to Divine Cleave at the 5/3 first, and then next turn, if anything nice happens to you, maybe you get a board in the world where we're still playing this game.
Hitting a minion with Divine Cleaver feels really bad to me here.
Sure.
I almost feel like if they're ever going to win, they have to stop planting this damage into the face.
The trouble is they're dead in 2 turns on board.
Yeah. But they've got Tauren, which sort of protects them next turn. Well, Staz doesn't agree with either of us.
Well, he wants to protect his 1/1s, which makes more sense than either of us.
That does make more sense than what either of us said, that's right. Unfortunately, what Staz does not know that we do know is that there's a second Pyromancer available in Odemian's hand. And Primordial Drake, which is even better here.
It's so hard. I mean, this Psychic Scream has all accidents covered. So does that Primordial Drake has mini accidents cover. And Pyromancer just says, this is fine. Making sure to keep the clock ticking here. It is something that if you're not careful when you're playing Control, you fall into this habit of just clearing every single turn, and suddenly your opponent does something like a level up, and you're wondering, well, why have I only got him down to 27? When actually you could set up boards like this where you're threatening lethal, and who cares about the 1/1s? Tell you who cares. Demian cares. He's trying to work out the best way to do this.
I think everyone cares about these 1/1s right now, actually. We can see 3 players on the bottom screen there who definitely care about these 1/1s, and that's something that they did not want to see happen.
George and Carl have gone missing again.
Maybe Vine Cleaver will find them one more time.
Exactly. Right.
Void Ripper doesn't do much at all. Ah, it's so horrible. Tauren is entirely useless here. Tauren, objectively one of the best cards in Hearthstone. Just no good against a full board. Yeah,
the Priest is outboarded right from the start there. I think the Philippines did the right thing going for that early beatdown, because they don't know what they're facing. If Dustbreaker isn't there, they probably just win that game.
Yeah. They definitely came closer than most would have.
It's an unfavoured, so you've got to take the chance. And I mean, as it happens, I don't think they came close at all because the Dustbreaker was there, so they just died. But
options
now they're looking for like Abomination or something.
Oh, in most matchups, you'd love a second Sunkeeper Tauren.
Does he mana 3/3?
With Taunt.
Yeah. What could go wrong?
Lethal.
I think the Philippines have accepted their fate, to be honest, here. It is Swiss. They can afford to lose at least one more match, but you need to go 4-2 to get through to stage 2, and obviously starting 0-1 is a big dent in that, but you know, going 4-1 from this point onwards, not an impossible task at all.
This is where they're supposed to Atreus Vector in the Acolyte and then hit into it.
Yeah, Demian sees the funny side of this as well. It's like, okay, I have lethal.
Yep. And pretty straightforward lethal at that.
Joking aside, comprehensive victory for France there, continuing the dominance of the last 24 hours.
Very well played all of the way through. France can and should be proud of themselves to take their first victory. And again, although they were not any of the casters' picks to their chagrin, we've still got a lot of good things to say about them.
Yeah, and again, they just proved it. I mean, so many ways through the year, but 4 out of 4 people in the qualifier last night who qualified for Germany were from France. All of the possible qualifiers.
Yeah, again, loads of good things to say about them. And we get to say some good things about France to France as we're going to have a chat with Odemian. Odemian, can you hear me? Doesn't sound like we can hear you, so we'll hopefully get that sorted in a few moments. But yeah, I mean, what a win from France all the way through. You said this during the last game, very commanding presence they had through the entire series.
They just didn't look like they were going to lose out after about halfway through game 1. And that's setting a message out. I mean, a lot of these good teams will be sending messages to the other teams, but this is probably the biggest name team that's won so far. Sweden, again, get the low end of that, but it did seem like dominant performance. I think we have actually got Odemian now.
We're going to try again. Hey, Odemian, congratulations.
Hey.
How does it feel to be back with the Hearthstone Global Games and getting that first win?
It's great. I mean, I wasn't part of the team last year, so we're hoping to make a good run this time. And yeah, the team is really, really good this year, so we have high hopes. You
guys making a point to the casters for not picking you. And also, I mean, describe France's last 24 hours of Hearthstone. It's been pretty insane. Yeah, well, four Frenchmen qualified for HTT Germany. So Calyx, Yogg, Trek, and this demon all qualified. Wow. And how is Calyx?
That was pretty crazy.
He seemed way too awake to me for somebody who just did that grind all last night.
Yeah, we prepped HGG a lot, so we're used to sleepless nights.
Now, tell me a little bit about your strategy coming into this week. You said to me beforehand, you know, you expected a lot of aggro. You were hoping Dead Man's Hand Warrior would be the big MVP. Just talk to me about what ended up happening.
Yeah, well, as we expected either a warrior ban or a priest ban, so it turned out to be a warrior ban. Both were kind of equivalent, to be honest. And then we picked the yeah, the priest was just gonna. We knew it was gonna crush their lineup, so that was pretty nice. So then we wanted to pick Warlock as well because we figured it would be really good. And then the rest of our lineup was just very good against aggro as a general rule.
Sure.
So I mean, we could queue almost any matchup and feel like we were ahead in this game. So it was pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, a strategy that definitely paid off. Congratulations one more time for your win, and we'll see you again in the next few weeks.
Thanks. See you.
Good luck.
Very clear strategy they had, which is great to see going into the first week. We've said this already today, that the teams have already put in a lot of effort into making the strategy, and it's nice to see when it pays off. Let's take one more look at the series that we've just watched and remind ourselves what happened. There you go, 3-1 victory to France. Winning Moon getting a win with their priest against France's Shaman. Quite surprisingly so, actually, at least from where I was sitting. But France taking the win regardless.